What's up? So welcome to Mosaic Podcast episode number 3. And today we have Erik Young, the general partner at Maxceed Capital明越资本, right? And my big boss, managing director, Volker Heistermann from Mosaic Venture Lab, where I work at. Yeah, Erik, the fund itself was established in 2017, right?
Right.
So who actually came up with that idea to like run several multi-family fund and to build one for, such a huge family groups?
We started in 2015, I guess, as an angel club. And then we thought angel club style investments wasn't that efficient. There's no professional teams there. We do not go into a deal together. We don't exit together. So it was fun, but we thought we need to build a brand.
Yeah.
A brand that we can attract more deals. So I think in 2017, 2018, we started Maxceed Capital Group. So it turned into a formal fund. There's a management team. There's, the GP LP system. Yeah.
But why do you call that a Maxceed? It sounds like you want to maximize the seed capital kind of thing, or?
Oh, honestly, I forgot how we came up with that name.
Cool. Cool.
Uchikata-san, Junichi Uchikata, he's our GP.
Yeah.
He's
Japanese, right? I just saw that.
Yeah, he used
to
run Jeffco Taiwan, and he chose the Chinese name Min Yue Ziben, and I chose the English name.
So you came up with Maxceed Capital.
Maxceed, yeah.
It's a cool name. It's a cool name.
And then ever since, Giant Chen joined us. He was with SBI Taiwan. Then, so we are the 3 GPs. And then we have 12 LPs.
So now you're with Maxceed Capital, and at the same time you're working with the National Development Fund.
Well, I'm just helping out. I'm on the board, on the IC board for the Angel Fund of NDF.
What do you have to do, when you're on the board? Do you have to look at the deals, or do you have to source deals, or?
No, we don't source deals.
Advice, or?
How the Angel Fund works is. The 天使投资协会, they would come up with a report for each applications, and we would vote yes or no whether we want to invest or not, and the NDF officials would decide how much they want to put in each deal.
Okay, so do you? Would you run? Have you ever considered to run a joint venture fund together with National Development Fund? Because I know they have to, when they give up 50%, and you have to put in 50% to run it. I saw several venture capital do that as well. So is that something in a consideration?
A lot of my friends do, a lot of VCs do, but not for us at the moment. We have more freedom as a multi-family office.
Yeah.
We can invest in, we're an evergreen fund. We can invest in pipe deals.
Yeah.
List the company, issue new shares. We can buy old shares. We can do all sorts of investments. While VCs, they have a lot of restrictions.
Okay, cool. So, what if today I want to resign from Mosaic Venture Lab and I want to join Maxceed Capital?
Well, it's
my
Volker.
boss
It's Volker here, the big boss, only 183 centimeters tall. But Erik, a question for you, because Ken is sitting here and he applied about 3 or 4 years ago with 3 words. Are you hiring VCs? That's 4 words. That was his application. And he's one of the many young people.
So let me clarify this part. So when I first emailed Volker, right, I was during my last year in my university, and I just sent 1 sentence, hi, I'm an undergraduate. Do you have an internship offer? Like,
it wasn't that long.
And he replied like, where, when?
Oh, it was.
And I go like Taipei, and he's like, okay, let's schedule a meeting or something like that, right?
I think that's how it came down. But the question for Erik is, I get so many resumes from young people around the world. They all are aspiring to become VCs. Ken's career has turned into a podcast moderator from his original aspirations. I think he has let go of that dream. Yeah. But what should young people do to become VCs? Because that's what they all want to be today.
My recommendation would be first, join a VC as an analyst. So you see enough deals. And you learn from your superior, your boss.
Yeah, you can move a little bit. Yep.
And leave VC, start a company. So you have the perspective of an entrepreneur. And whether how your entrepreneur journey goes, then you can decide whether you want to start your own fund, join VC as a partner, and become a venture capitalist.
So let's say if I ran a startup and I failed maybe twice, and I go to you, I say, hey Erik, I failed twice, would you hire me as a VC? Well, what would you, do you like that kind of experience? Or
sure, why not? You would be a great analyst. Start as an analyst, and then you see enough deals, and then get a feel of this is what you want to do, if you enjoy it or not.
So what are the tough questions you would ask, when you interview an analyst?
What would I ask?
Yeah.
What would I ask? Good question. Okay, for me,
do you like fun guy, or do you like someone that's like being super formal for analysts, or like what characteristic you're looking?
Don't hire the Ken type.
Each VC, just like each company, they have their own style.
Yeah.
CDIB have their own style, Infinity Venture, AppWorks, they have their own style. So for us, our investment strategy is to tag along the large funds. We never lead any round. So we need a very good analyst. How we source our deals is mostly from those large funds. So I guess being friendly is always nice, but I guess we're not looking for the super hyper talkative people as other institutions do.
Well, Ken is very talkative.
And also I'm not. Only when I get drunk, right?
Well, you do have the analyst experience now. You looked at a lot of deals, but you don't have the startup yet, unless you pull off a Mosaic mashup. I think that's your startup. So let's see how it goes.
Like I think it has to be.
Then you should start providing alcohol at your podcast. Like
stop
beer,
providing
wine.
Oh, here's some wine back over there, but it's been sitting there for a few days, so I didn't really want to offer that.
Yeah. So now the fund itself is around 36 million, the AUM, 36 million, and 0.5 to 1.5 million per deal, right? So how many deals would you close a year? It seems like, I look at the portfolio earlier, like today, and I saw it's around 3 investments so far. So
yeah, during the Angel Club era 4, and for Maxceed Capital 3, and for us, because we used to look at all deals. We used to look at AR/VR, big data, AI, blockchain, everything. And then we realized we need to focus on a couple industries.
Yeah.
So we spent about a year and a half just to look into biotech and automotives. And biotech, because we see this is Taiwan has great advantage in this industry. as we have good labs, professors and their students, reasonably priced comparing to American, European, Japanese biotech startups. Great tech. We have a Taiwan IPO PE is higher than most Asian countries for bio deals. And automotives, because background, one of the family businesses making diesel bus, and now we're making electric bus, and we own a bus operator, a long distance. So we work closely with the Ministry of Transportation, and we got a lot of support from them. And so anything in the smart city, MaaS, mobility as a service, or just electric vehicle itself, we are all interested.
So do you like professors?
Sure, why not?
Like
you don't.
Like Volker has some experience. Like you can share actually. Like, you know, when you talk to professors, right? They are very good at technologies. You know, like when it comes to proof of concept, prototyping. But you know, when it comes to pitching, it is like has to be improved in some ways. That is.
Yeah, professors seem to be not so market oriented, but rather more in love with their patent and the shelves where they file them. But it depends on the professor, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, we have invested in this company. The tech is from Zhongyuan Yuan, and the current CEO is a venture capitalist. Is from one of the fund that invested in this company, and then their partner eventually become the CEO. And I agree. I think this guy is doing a wonderful job. Sometimes a capitalist, a businessman may be ideal for bio companies.
But I'm pretty curious. Like you know, I always want to find out like how does a venture capitalist daily routine look like? You know, like, you know, for Volker, you might wake up like 5 in the morning and, you know, read all the news, or, you know, walk into the office at 8 and have your team brief you like all the deals. Like how does that look like? You know, do you look at deals every day, or do you have to like, you know, mingle like all the time to, you know, get to know more about startups and people, or, you know, what you do like on daily basis?
In 2015, 2016, I was a full-time...
You were in the US, right? You were in the States.
I came back 2014. Yeah.
2014, okay.
And then, yeah, because right now I'm spending more time on the family business side, but 2015, 2016, I was a full-time VC wannabe, right? And at the time, I would stay in hotels over 200 days a year in different countries. And I remember this one time in Hong Kong, me and Gobi venture partner, Mark.
Yeah, out of Korea.
Singapore.
Gobi, Singapore. Okay.
Yeah, Gobi, Singapore. And then we look at 8 startups in 8 hours.
One for each.
Yes, back to back. And I was exhausted. I didn't have food.
I mean, like they met you like face to face and pitch.
Yes.
Like for an hour. Okay.
Yes, we were at this office, and then it just, an hour.
Yeah, that is so.
Per company.
Like yeah.
And then I had average, I think, 200 emails per day. Wow. And just endless meetings, and it was fun. Exhausting but fun.
Because we have actually run like several roadshows together with some corporates, and, you know, we will run over the cities and set up all the meetings, and, you know, sometimes you even have to like carry your luggage to the meeting room. You know, you did that all the time, and it's like super exhausted, right? Like, you know, you have to run all those meetings, and you know, you just got no energy left. And
at the time I was contemplating which structure Maxceed would use. So there is an angel fund of Silicon Valley, run by a Taiwanese guy. So whenever he comes to Asia, I would chase him around. If he goes to Shenzhen, I would chase him to Shenzhen. He goes to Hong Kong, I will follow him to Hong Kong. Just whenever he has a break for an hour or two, I would take him to coffee and learn. And yeah.
Do you, like, you have met with so many startups, right? Do you believe in your instinct when it comes to investment? Like, let's say, you know, someone shares you a super crazy idea, like the Airbnb kind of crazy idea at the time. You know, how would you process? Like, would you say, wow, cool, you know, and you just put money, no matter it's like your venture capital fund or it's your angel money? Like, do you have that instinct, or you believe on, like, we gotta do like long analysis and due diligence and, you know, process like 3 months to find out is there any synergies?
Like I said, every VC has their own style. I have friends who are like that. For Maxceed Capital Group, I don't consider myself a professional investor. I don't manage other people's money. What we do is we vote. So my job is to decide the direction,
okay,
our pace, and the rest I leave it. I lead them to our professional team. And when it comes to decision making, whether to invest or not, is to I put it through a vote of our 12 partners, and they decide. I mean, including me, I'm one of the 12. We decide whether to invest, and I would decide how much to put in each deal.
So,
and that's a lengthy process because we're all in different countries, different cities. So one of our weaknesses is that we cannot decide within 3 days. Some VCs have the luxury to do that, but we can't.
Okay, so like, do you hire a team, internal team for due diligence, or would you like outsource through like for technical due diligence? Do you do it like internally?
We do our own, and then we would look at the DD report from those larger institutions that we co-invest with, but of course we have to have our own.
So basically you vote, right? Like you guys would, like each one has one vote and you vote on certain deal flow and say, yes, we're gonna invest. So that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So like, you know, I'm pretty curious as well, like how much, like for Series A usually would a VC would take like 20%, a lead investor, maybe less than that, more than that, I'm not sure. But like, I'm not saying your deal, but on average, like for that is something that people ask a lot as well. Like when it comes to a seed investment, like how much money should, it's not how much money should raise, but like how much equity would a VC get usually from deal? Let's say if it's Series A.
Well, it depends. Sometimes we invest very late stage, then we get a small percentage. And sometimes we invest early, then it's really case by case. Yeah.
So when you see startup, right, like what frustrate you the most? Like what question when they ask that frustrate you the most?
Nothing will frustrate, and nothing should frustrate an investor. So all entrepreneurs should be able to ask anything.
Okay.
And the investors shouldn't get frustrated.
So you would give a lot, like let's say if someone approached you with a cold email, it's a startup, cool idea. Would you reply to that? Would you respond to that, or you just let it go?
I do. If it's a cool idea, I usually do.
So everyone can send you a cold email. So would you recommend startups to do that, like to other investors as well, or like Volker? How do you think about like cold email?
Well, it used to be, but I'm an old man. When I grew up in Silicon Valley, that you had to be introduced to investors, but that was prior to AngelList, that was prior to social media, and ubiquity of access, right? I mean, VCs publish their email addresses, not necessarily Sequoia Capital, but the mainstream VCs publish their email addresses on websites. So it's a little bit to be expected today to reach out cold. I personally, like Erik mentioned, he gets 200 emails a day. I don't get 200 decks a day, but I get a fair share. And I have to say, the ones where I always immediately click delete is when I see the word blockchain. Because of the 4,000 people on my LinkedIn, I've tried to cut down on the blockchain people on my LinkedIn, a lot of scam artists. And so that's the one area where I personally also, I'm not that knowledgeable, so I don't want to deal with blockchain, and I just push.
Do you think, is there a lot of like scam artists in Taiwan?
There's a lot of what?
Scam artists, like 诈骗集团 of those.
Oh.
Like Byron, and come to Taiwan and then, and would try to raise funds from you and things like that.
You mean their models, their business models,
like they have
created purposely for scam?
Yeah, they got a super great pitch, right? Good PPT, good slides, but they don't have anything at all. We actually we met someone like that before, so yeah, things of that nature.
About 12-13 years ago, we invested in this cancer cure startup in Orange County, California, and then it was a scam, and then we lost $1 million US, and yeah. But in Taiwan,
but you would do DD, right? Like, why you didn't find out that it was a scam? Like Terranos, right? They raise so much money in the valley, but it turns out it's a scam, right? Like, it doesn't work. Just like put some components from Siemens and and it worked out, right? But I thought it would go through a process of like technical diligence and would be very strict, like, but it turns out
just a deck is hard to raise money. But I've seen a scam that the product is real. It's good stuff. Another level of scam. But they continue to raise money. They never put it into production. So they've been raising money for, I think it was, I encountered them in 2018, and they've been raising money for 3 to 4 years. And then the product is ready, it's good, but they just continue to raise money.
Erik, I think that's where the industry has a problem, because when the startups at demo days pitch, they usually brag about the amount of money they have raised. When accelerators raise their next fund, they usually have the cumulative amount of money that's been raised. And so it turns into this frenzy, this circuit of, when I've met entrepreneurs that didn't need to raise any more money, but they attended the next pitch event and the next pitch event, and governments help out. They fly people to CES and where have you. So in other words, the startup world is becoming very focused on raising money and seeing the amount they have raised, or they have made it to Series A or even B as a success versus looking at revenues and customers. I see that as a problem because it's quite easy nowadays to raise money. There's so much capital sitting around if you have a good team and a good story and the right sales approach, then you can raise money. And then, if you have already investors, other investors feed off that, and then you end up in this money raising trap.
Yes.
And one day you wake up and there's no more equity left.
that's usually like how it worked out, right? Yeah, so that's like, I found it from like Sequoia, right? The general partner of Sequoia is like raise as less money as possible, like at the beginning when you start a company. Like what kind of advice would you like share with startups, like usually when?
What do you mean raise as
less money as you can, to give out as less equity as you can?
Okay.
Yeah, at the beginning. Do you agree with that, or you think it should?
Sure.
Yeah, because right. I mean, with giving out so much equity and just run out to like do all the marketing stuff.
Yeah, we always want to see the CEO is the biggest shareholder of a company.
Okay. So do you guys believe in luck?
Of course.
Yes.
Why? Like,
lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you, man. You're so sweet. No, I mean, like, what brings luck to you? Like, when we work hard, right, and luck comes along, or how do you guys think? Like for certain startups, like YouTube, right? Steve Chen, the other day, I watched his video and he was in an interview. He said, like, it was because he founded YouTube at the right time with no competitors, right?
Timing is yeah.
But you will not find out when will be the right timing, right? So
no, you won't.
Yeah. So, right. I think it's so hard to like start up a company and say is it the right timing to do something? Like, all right, let's move. It's related, but what do you guys think is hot out there right now?
What's
in terms
hot?
Of technology, let's say in mobility space?
Blockchain? Just kidding.
Blockchain, quantum, right? Graphene or
quantum is heating up, yeah.
I will always advise entrepreneurs to choose a trend, a long-term trend, and build his business based on this long-term and not chase after a hot topic.
Blockchain?
Investors too. I would advise all investors to be real investors instead of speculators. So we see biotech as the future. It's steady growth. It's not a hype. So as automotive tech. I don't want to say anything negative about all those hot topics in the past few years. I think we have one each year, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But
radar.
Yeah. But yeah, all investors have their own style, and ours is we want to chase a long-term, steady growth trend.
So yeah, I saw a lot of like biotech startups here in Taiwan, but I don't see that many deals in the auto industry, in the mobility space.
For whole car, there aren't many, but for components, small stuff.
And most of their customers are in China, right?
China and US.
Because like when we actually met several startups, and like each time, like every time when they talk about customer, they would always say China. And I mean, it is already so competitive there in China, right? It is so hard to get Taiwanese. Like I think Taiwan should focus on B2B, because like in the States you have like 300 million population, right? The market is enough for end customer kind of startup or service, but in Taiwan, it is very hard to get out of the island. All I can think of is China. Like, how do you guys think for startups that want to go into China? Like, how tough is that to get into that market and compete with all those super cool startups in China?
China, the future of China is not looking very good, and because all the Chinese corporations, investment arms, their CVCs, their PE funds, they are slowing down investments on domestic market. Or slowing down or stop, and it's hard for companies to seek funding now. We were lucky because we didn't have that many friends in China when we started early stage investments.
Yeah.
So we didn't consider any China deals. Now it turns out, hey, we are lucky in a way. What do you think?
Yeah, I can echo that. When I came to Taiwan and we launched Venture 2011, and most of the startups at the time, when we asked them how do you plan on going global? It was always the China frenzy. We go to China, and I'm from Germany, the US. I'm not from China, but I knew from my previous work that China is tough, even for people in China, right? Each city has their own dialect, and if you make it in Shanghai as a mainland Chinese startup, doesn't mean you have any success in Beijing. So how does a Taiwanese startup, how can they do well in China? And I tracked a bunch of them. I don't want to name any, but some of them raised 20-30 million US dollars when they were going to China, and most of them at the time, 2013, 2012, they came back and they failed as Taiwanese startups in China. It's tough. China is a brutal market.
Yeah, I saw like several startups, but like most of the startups I met in Taiwan, they would have 1 to 2 deals they would usually like close 1 to 2 deals in China, you know. They have business. It's not like they don't have anything at all. But the problem is, can you go big, you know, like to really like go over the whole China? It's another thing, right? So I think it's not easy though. So like Erik, like which kind of entrepreneur attract you the most? Like, do you like, you know, we would look at technologies, right? We would look at product, we would look at market and product market fit, things like that. But like, what kind of you know, characteristic would you look at like when entrepreneur approach you?
I admire entrepreneurs for their capability, for the sacrifices they are willing to make. I would appreciate a entrepreneur. He's very, smart is the first thing. He's passionate, he's eager to succeed. He's willing to sacrifice. He's not paying himself too much.
Or don't take money at all sometimes, right?
Yeah, I admire entrepreneurs very, very much.
Yeah, they will pay off, right? Like Elon Musk just recently got 700 millions from the compensation plan, I think.
Well, he deserved it, right? He worked hard for it. He slept on his conveyor belts at times.
You know,
entrepreneurs should make money from capital gain, not salary.
True.
Exactly.
True. So how do you evaluate their ideas? Like, do you have a thesis for investment thesis for Maxceed Capital? You know, when they pitch idea to you, how would you evaluate?
Oh,
would you pass it to your team and say, like, help me do research on the market? How does that process look like?
Of course. Again, it's case by case. Every deal, we look at them very differently. So it's hard to share our thesis if we have any.
So you are on the board of 国光, right? 国光客运. So what do you think is cool out there?
What's cool
what
out
technology for bus do you think is cool out there and you want to bring into Taiwan? I mean, you guys have been living in US for so many years, right? You have seen like so many cool tech, like, you know.
Well, Ken, the US is not a bus country. There's Greyhound.
Yeah, I know.
But you
but
don't want to go on a Greyhound.
Right?
You may not get off the Greyhound. Some stories to share. In '86, I toured Greyhound. I toured the US for 6 weeks on Greyhound in 1986.
Wow.
Yeah.
1986. How many years ago?
It was like the AmeriPass. They don't have
24
that
years ago.
No, 34.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, so like I mean like what, like for me, right? Like when we talk about mobility, I think there's one super cool idea. It's mobile charging. Like people would get worried about their cars not being charged, right? And so they can provide on-demand kind of charging services, and they like carry the battery box around and help Tesla or, you know, Audi, you know, Daimler to charge the car. I think that's something very cool, right? Because it's solving real world problem. And as Mosaic Capital, I think is focused on mobility, like last mile solution. Is there any certain technology you think that could be integrated with Qualcomm besides electrification for the bus? More like new business model and new services.
I used to think the bus business is it's an industry in decline and very unsexy. But now, in the past few years, I've learned that first, every metropolitan has a problem of overpopulation, and all governments want to reduce cars in each city. So the MOS, Mobility as a Service, electric bus, MTRs. This would be the what the government want to implement in each metropolitan. So once you take a bus to a bus station, how do you go home? That's an issue that we must consider. So the first mile, how do you go from your home to the bus station? The first mile, last mile solution is what we are looking for. And so far, it's been difficult. We're looking for an inexpensive vehicle that could carry, say, less than 5 people, and has to be safe and comfortable and inexpensive.
Have you seen any of things that similar to the thing that you have in mind, like that lightweight vehicle?
Nothing too ideal so far.
I love self-flying cars.
You like self-flying cars?
Yes, but Kitty Hawk, which is one of the projects from Larry Page, the Google co-founder, they just laid off some people that were on the project, on the actually self-flying car project. They're now reverting to a type of plane. They still have that operation going on, but I don't think we're going to see any self-flying cars anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean that would rely heavily on, like, in terms of regulation, right? Regulatory issues.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah. So, like, for your portfolio, right, Mosaic Capital, what would you do when they fail? Let's say, they ran out of money, and
that's a great question.
They would go bankruptcy like in 2 weeks, like
you mean
they just
our
fail.
Portfolios?
I think like for VCs would invest like 10, but not 10 would go big, right? Like some of them just So how would you do?
You mean what do we do when our startups are running out of money?
Yeah, basically.
Well, we have to bring them to pitch to more institutional investors.
So you will help them to get more money from like investors in your network, or?
I think all shareholders have the responsibility to do that.
What if the entrepreneur itself is wasted a lot of money from the company?
Oh,
like super bad culture in the company. I don't want to name that super big startup, like buying planes for his own use and.
Oh, we work, Adam.
Yeah.
Well, fire the CEO. I mean, Sequoia is famous. I've seen statistics that run as high as 40% for firing the founder after they invest.
Sequoia.
Yeah,
that
Sequoia
is
Capital.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, pretty high number for them too, because a lot of they invest in a later stage. Nowadays, they invest in any stage. They have incubators in Singapore, but a lot of times the founders serial entrepreneurs love creating new businesses, and then they don't necessarily like to manage or they don't have the capability of managing large teams and operations. So sometimes they're just better off being displaced. And it's happening. It's happened in famous startups. Look at Uber. What happened there? Travis, he got the boots.
Is there a real problem like when startup can have access to capital so easily, right? It's like, back to your point, like they don't even have to go IPO. Like, what's the point? I mean, you would get so much money from Vision Fund.
Well,
those big
Vision
ones.
Fund, that was certainly a threat to the Sequoias of the world, right? To the incumbent tier 1 VCs, because the Vision Fund almost turned into an IPO-like machine. So you wouldn't have an exit anymore. You just go to the Vision Fund and raise more capital. But that obviously flopped, that vision of the Vision Fund.
The vision of the Vision Fund, yeah. So it's like when you invest in a startup, it's like marriage, right? It's like for the next couple of years, you would sit on the board and you don't have to deal a lot with the CEO and the team. Like, do you have any of the experience like?
So when you meet an entrepreneur, always, or when an entrepreneur meets an investor, always get a feel of that person. Whether you want this person to fight you alongside in the future battles. Is he gonna be a good teammate? Is he gonna be a good partner? Because once that person is on your shareholder list, you will see each other and communicate very often. You have to. So yeah, you gotta have good chemistry. It's like marriage, yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, so very interesting. So Volker, do you have
a question for Erik. In terms of the entrepreneurs, the differences, you lived in the US, you have invested globally. What makes a Taiwanese entrepreneur different from a mainland Chinese entrepreneur, from a Singaporean, from a Hong Kongese or a US entrepreneur? What's the differences you see in the startups and the mindset, I guess? It's a pretty open question.
Yeah, it's an open question. I have one answer. I don't want to say too much. Speed is one thing. I would recommend Taiwanese entrepreneurs to move faster, to respond faster, to just faster.
How slow they are now?
I guess it's the overall pace in Taiwan. Everyone's just more chill. Yeah. And while the entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, in China, in Hong Kong, so speed up.
Speed up. Ken, work harder.
Work harder.
Yeah. I'm trying hard.
How many podcasts are you doing today?
I will have like 5 per week.
Per week? The week has 7 days.
Yeah. Move fast, right? Yeah.
And break things along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So, thank you very much today for this conversation.
Thanks for opening conversation. Yeah.
Erik, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Volker.
Yeah, thank you, Erik. Next time we will get some wine, good one.
Okay.
And,
that'll be wonderful.
Perhaps we can do another episode with your portfolio company.
Yeah, maybe with other VCs. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, sure. Yeah, or maybe we can bring in Mesh Ventures. I think that would be fun.
Okay.
All right, thank you, guys.